Hello everyone, Josh from MC2000 here, and today I've got a video for you all. Today we're going to be covering Batman Beyond Neo Year 1. Okay, so I'm going to be honest, I've slept on this one. We're going to be covering issues 1 to 4 because it's been one of those where I've been trying to get through my pull list and reduce down the size of the pile that I need to read through, and this one's always kind of got shoved to the bottom. It's like, you know, I like Batman Beyond, but like, you know, I'm already invested in some of these other books, so it's like, you know, I want to see what's happening in those first, so I go for those first. And when I sat down today, I'm like, I love Batman Beyond. The idea of a Batman Beyond Year 1 comic is pretty neat, you know, like, I didn't know what it was about. I'd not read up on it or anything. I knew nothing about this series before it was in my hand. I was expecting it to be kind of like the comic book version of the Batman Beyond show. It was meant to be kind of like, this is what is considered canon for the comic book version of Batman Beyond. This is kind of like his first year, right? Which is what all the other Year 1 books were. You know, for like Batman by Frank Miller, Batman Year 1. I'm pretty sure Robin had one. I think Batgirl might have had one. Superman had one, I think. A number of characters have basically had a Year 1 equivalent book, right? So, you know, it's something DC does, you know, it's something they do fairly frequently. It's kind of like the Old Man books for like Marvel, you know, how they did Old Man Logan, Old Man Hawkeye, Old Man Quill. There's been a number of them. Not seen any of them recently. I wonder who could be next. Oh well, we'll see. On to the larger point. Batman Neo Gotham. So, essentially, I was actually wrong. It doesn't cover that. So I was surprised to find that out. Essentially what it does is it picks up from a one-shot in Urban Legends, which I've actually stopped getting Urban Legends because when Urban Legends first came out, it was like you had one story in the front that continued over the course of several issues, and then you had a bunch of one-shots, right? So, you know, it's like you had the one story that followed on, and then you had like a bunch of one-shots. As it went on, I just didn't find it as interesting, and to be honest, I think I might actually sell on some of my Urban Legends outside of the first couple of issues. I'll probably keep it's issue 7 that has the Batman Beyond thing, so I'll probably keep that. But that aside, so it carries on from that, and essentially it's going to be covering Terry's first year after Bruce dies, and it's going to be dealing with how he gets on with being Batman on his own without Bruce's help, which I think is a fascinating idea, because in the TV show and the Batman Beyond comics we've had so far, Terry has always been shown as being very reliant on Bruce. Like, you know, Bruce is like, he's the brains of the operation, he's the one with the detective knowledge and experience. Terry learned some stuff on his own and he's capable, but he's not up to the same level as like Bruce or any of the previous Robins, right? So, but he still gets by, he still does his thing. And I'm going to be honest, Terry's my favourite person to overtake Bruce as Batman. He's my favourite successor for Bruce. You can keep your Damian Wayne Batman, you can keep your Dick Grayson Batman. I'm quite happily sitting over here with Terry as Batman. I just really like, honestly, I need to track down the rest of the comics for Batman Beyond because I don't have all the Rebirth run. I jumped on the Rebirth run late, so I might try and get that all in single issues because I have a good portion of that run in single issues, so I might try and get the rest of that and have a look at the New 52 run for Batman Beyond because I don't think it was all that many volumes. That would be that's something I might cover later on the channel, but anyway, on to this. So the premise is there's this AI computer system which has took over all the infrastructure in Gotham. Think like Skynet, but like a computer that's obsessed with maintaining balance. It's obsessed with the idea that the population is at this level and it will remain at this level. That it's obsessed with it. It like periodically it does stuff like it will periodically pick someone in the care home to be poisoned because it's like, okay, they've had their time, they go, and that will make room for this person who's born here, right? And it's obsessed with maintaining the balance, as it calls it. Terry's basically having to hide from all these eyes, all these multiple eyes looking at him. Like, it's essentially, I am a little bit annoyed that it ribs a bit from Future State with how Bruce had to go low-tech in Future State and hide. And I'm a little bit annoyed that it's ribbed that a little bit with Terry, because like there's a bit where he's ripping several bits out of his suit to be like, oh, okay, yeah, this'll mean I can hide in plain sight, you know, it'll mean I'll have to go a bit old-fashioned in some places, but it will do. One thing I quite like is Terry's keeping a diary throughout it, and he's basically using paper to keep it on, because he basically says it's the only way he can keep it secure now, because if he even tries to use a computer, it will light his location up like a Christmas tree, which I don't know, I'm a little bit annoyed they've cribbed that from Future State, but at the same time, I am also enjoying this book. It's really good, and I love seeing Terry having to operate on his own and get by without Bruce's help. Okay, so it's something that's always interested me, because I've basically had this opinion when it comes to Batman Beyond, that Terry will run into problems when Bruce passes away. Because what we're shown in the show is that yes, Terry is slowly learning some of the skills that Bruce has, and yes, he is slowly putting it together and becoming more his own Batman. But you do also have the problem that Bruce doesn't have all that long left to teach him these things. He doesn't have the time he had with Dick or Tim, and he can't get up and train with him. He can't teach him physically anymore, because he's lost that. He's walking on a cane in the original series. When Terry's engaging in, like, the whole thing is narrated by Terry in this book, right? So essentially, like, he's done his patrol, he's getting home, and he's cracking out the pen and just noting everything down for like the investigation and just for his own thoughts. It's written as if he's talking to Bruce. Quite funny, because it's as if he's finding it easier, as if he's writing it like he's talking to somebody. And he kind of says, you know, I've, you know, XYZ happened, and he's kind of talking over some of the stuff, and he's like, yeah, doing this or that, it makes me wonder what you felt like for the first time. Like, there's a bit where he meets this police officer, like she's essentially going to be his version of Commissioner Gordon, I think, because Barbara retires in this. One of the things that happens in, like, I think the third issue, there's a retirement due for Barbara, because she announces that she's retiring, she's stepping down. So he essentially, like, there's this police officer that they're starting to form an alliance, and he's basically gone to her for help, because it's interesting how this series of issues so far uses holograms, because the main villain's an AI, so it uses holograms to weaponize random people. So it's kind of got that thing from the Matrix with the agents, with the idea that, like, your enemy could be anybody. You're having to hide and move through the city unnoticed, because if you draw too much attention, they could just appear behind you. It's really compelling, actually. I really like it. I know I bashed on it for being a bit too similar to Future State, but I can forgive it with Batman Beyond, because it's meant to be a futuristic setting, and like the idea that Bruce is kind of like this Bruce and Barbara are these last good lights keeping the city somewhat together, and now they're both departed, it's started to go to hell. It's really good, and I'm actually like, honestly, I'm not going to talk too much more about it. I just, honestly, if you guys are a fan of Batman Beyond, this is a recommendation. There's also another Batman Beyond series at the moment right now. It is the White Knight Beyond, which is it's a follow-up to Batman White Knight, and it's also a Batman Beyond series. I'm probably not going to cover that here, because I haven't really covered much in the way of Batman White Knight on the channel. And to be honest, I don't think it's as good as this. I enjoyed this considerably more. I would recommend, well, it's not a bad book, Beyond White Knight, but I personally prefer this one. It feels like old episodes of Batman Beyond, and what can I say? I'm a sucker for it, man. Old Batman Beyond was like really good, and honestly, I'm saddened we're probably never gonna get that show continued. I mean, like, yeah, okay, continue Young Justice all you want, but Come on, man. Batman Beyond, it's an open goal. Also, I'm just partial for old hand-drawn animation. I think something was lost in the department of animation when we started using computers for everything. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, stuff like Clone Wars looks incredible, but, like, I still miss the old hand-drawn. Anyway, that's kind of my random, like, thoughts on animation. I suppose it's somewhat relevant to Batman Beyond. Anyway, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I haven't covered them that in detail because, honestly, I want you guys to go out and buy these books and read them. I will try and cover this one more as we go on, and I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Goodbye.